Welcome to Everyday Ethics. I'm your host, Michael Liebowitz, and I am here all by my lonesome today. Never fear, I think I can handle it, but I'm going to ask for a little bit of help from you. So I do have some questions for you. One question, or the first question I'll ask, is how often do you think about the subject of ethics? How often do you actually contemplate what you should be doing, whether it's right or wrong? What's the standards to determine what's right or wrong? That sort of thing. Second question, highly. Second question, how often do you discuss ethics with your friends and family members? And when you do, what is their take on the subject? Hold on just a sec here. And finally, and this is going to be relevant to, hey, Daniel, relevant to what I want to talk about today is how do your moods affect your behavior? So I'm working quite a bit. I wake up sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning. I start working right away, and the way that I'm working requires me to maintain a high degree of focus. I'm reading things, and I got to really understand what it is I'm reading. I need to be able to evaluate what I'm reading, and I need to be able to conceptualize it and order it in such a way that makes sense to present on a show. Oftentimes, I'm planning interviews or debates, which also requires me to think in depth about subjects, some of which I may not have studied, at all in the past. Some of which I know I'm not on Twitch. I don't know how to do it, Akira. So I'm very focused. And then my day job is that I have to compile reports for real estate. Various things. It doesn't really matter, but I have to do reports. So in the house I live, I also take care of the 5 dogs. I clean the house every day, and I work out. So all this is scheduled. Now, there's distractions in life, right? So people will come around, hey, whatever, what's going on, want to talk. Things won't go right. Like, yesterday I was supposed to meet somebody at 4:30. I had an interview to do, and that interview took me way longer. And I'm the type of person, I am very irritable. So I end up getting annoyed, and my mood often shifts. So sometimes I'll be snappy, is the word I'll use. I'm impatient with others. And I just wonder, is that something that happens to all of you? And what's your moral assessment? What's your moral judgment of that? If somebody is in a bad mood and is obviously irritable, do you hold that against them? Not only that, but is it even a moral problem? I mean, everybody gets moody at times, right? It's not just me. So I'm curious, folks. So Danny says he only discusses ethics with one person, but then he quickly names a second person. He says this feels like a throwback from Akira Felix. It is kind of a throwback. I'll get to that in a minute. So the mood thing. I'm curious. How does your mood affect your behavior? Is it a big effect? Does it never affect? See, I try not to let it affect me, and often it doesn't, but sometimes it does. So in my view, the effort that I put forward to not allow my moods to impact me in a negative way and to still treat people fairly, I think that's the moral thing to do. I think trying to eliminate bad moods or irritability completely from my, makeup is just not a realistic thing. Danny says his mood absolutely affects him. Please remember, folks, too, that we're in love with super chats and super stickers over here. Also, keep in mind that there's 2 great episodes of The Rational Egoist out right now, a debate I had with Professor Michael Humer on the objectivist ethics, and also an episode with Jim Valiant on the virtue of honesty. coming up probably tomorrow, but maybe Friday, I've got an interview with the director of the Soho Forum debates, Gene Epstein, where he and I discuss the economist Richard Cantillon, who probably deserves, or definitely deserves, a lot more credit than what he actually gets. Mr. Deagle says, I do the same thing when I'm in a bad mood. Things that usually don't annoy me start getting on my nerves, and I may insult a person without meaning to. It usually takes a few minutes to realize I'm in the wrong. Yeah, I think that's common. Akira Felix was getting irritated during the Capitalist Corner. He realized that certain topics put him in a bad mood. I'm curious, what about the Capitalist Corner puts you in a bad mood? Also, I want to know from anybody in the chat that watched my debate with Professor Humor. First of all, did anybody in the chat watch the debate I had with Professor Humor? That's the first thing I need to know. Nicole Hingle says, right now life is hitting me hard. Been a rough couple of weeks. She tries to be careful about her mood because she doesn't want to be bitchy with people I'm around all the time. Mr. Deagle says he debated someone on X today about morality. It was a giant waste of time. Kira says taking it out on other people is not good. Okay, I agree with that. How about the other questions I asked about how often you discuss ethics? With whom do you discuss them? Also, the debate I had with Humor, did anybody watch it? Curious, like to know what your thoughts on that were. So some strategies that I try to employ, to be honest, about my bad moods is just social awareness, or self-awareness, rather. Just being aware of who I am, of when my moods are switching. And Jim says he watched I won. I disagree with Jim. Maybe Jim and I can debate whether I won the debate with Humor or not. But thanks, Jim. I appreciate that. So I just try to be very self-aware, monitor my behavior, monitor my moods, let people around me know when I'm irritable, when I'm in a bad mood, and apologize when I'm a dick about it. Nicole Hingle does discuss ethics with friends. So that's what I do, and it works usually. Communication is huge. I think you have to let people know how you're feeling, what type of mood you're in. If you're busy, you can't expect people to read your mind, right? Like you guys know, I'm a ball breaker. I don't mind when people break my balls. But if I'm not in the mood to have my balls broken, I have to tell people that. It's incumbent upon me to let people know right now is not the time, right? I can't get mad at other people for not understanding the state I'm currently in. And I don't think, I know that none of us can. I got another question that just came through, and I'm curious, although it's not an ethical question, it is a social question. Somebody pointed out to me that there's not one female chess player in the top 122 chess players. Why do you think that is? Why are women not represented in the upper echelons of the chess world? Very, very curious. That's what I would like to know. What do you think? Okay, so, another thing that I do is I am such a big fan of AI, and I know that there's people who aren't. People think it's going to take over the world, that it's going to turn on us, whatever. There's people who told me, yeah, but it's so inaccurate. I have AI assess all my debates, and I have it, and I ask, what could I have done better? Where was I weak? And I find it incredibly helpful. I mean, incredibly. You could have said this here. This is what you could have done. Next time, do this. Very, very strong tool, especially like if somebody gives me advice or if somebody gives me feedback and they're correct, I can usually understand and say, yes, that's accurate. And I don't find the critiques of AI to be far off. I mean, sometimes there's things I disagree with. I believe her name was Polgar. That was the eighth in the world, Mr. Deagle. I find AI, to be pretty on point with this stuff. Great feedback. Obviously, it's like anything else. You don't take it as if it's God, as if it's infallible, but you understand that you reason through it. You assess the advice it's giving you. You assess what it says. And I find it to be a very helpful. Akira Felix discusses it semi-regularly with friends. Sometimes they just want to discuss dumb dilemmas. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. The dilemmas. I'm reading right now Mike Humer's book on knowledge, and there's so many of these hypotheticals that are just not real world stuff. I don't like it at all. So this Saturday, I'm going to do a show, the Capitalist Corner weekend. Maybe Jim Valiant will do it with me. Hint, hint. That'd be great. What I want to discuss is the difference between deontological ethics and teleological ethics. The reason I do is because I sense that when most people hear morality or ethics, they think that a deontological approach or a religious command approach must be the right ways. And I've often thought that, but an answer that I got from, which one was it now? Grok, in relation to the debate I had with Humor, it said that my defense of why you shouldn't initiate force against other people. All right, Jim has agreed. We're going to do this on Saturday. Jim, I do it at 12 noon Eastern time. That'd be 9 a.m. Your time. So anyway, so it said, well, what it actually said to me, it said your reasons for not for saying you shouldn't initiate force against other people are too practical and consequential. They don't have the deontological kick that most people want. Most people want it to be inherently, intrinsically wrong to initiate force against others. But that's assuming the deontological approach or an intrinsic approach, that things are wrong in themselves, and I reject that. But then that's going to take you, a step back to actually debating the superstructure of ethics. So I think that it'll be great if I have Jim and I discuss it on Saturday on the Capitalist Corner weekend show, because Persephone is absent, and it's fortunately I have Jim Valiant in my corner to help me out here. Let me see what we got here. The Queen. Oh, that's a TV show. Jim says males are the online gamers too. Yeah, I don't know why that would be the case, that women are underrepresented. I mean, I know why women are underrepresented in chess. They're just outnumbered by the amount of men that engage in it compared to women. Mr. Deagle says that debate, if I remember correctly, came down to epistemology, but I wasn't watching it with my full attention. That's kind of the trouble. If you have a debate or a discussion with somebody who does not share the same epistemological framework, and what I mean by that, it's not that people have to be an objectivist in order to have a debate with them, but people have to accept certain criteria of evidence, of critical thinking, of what cognition is, that sort of thing. Humor has a very different epistemology than mine, so I'm going to debate him on that subject. I'm reading his book now. That's why I'm reading it, so I can, make as strong a case as I can. But I don't know how many of you have ever argued with Marxists, for instance. And the words that they use just have a vastly different meaning than how words are usually used. So it makes it a very difficult debate to have, because you're talking about two different things. So when Humor says, for instance, that your intuitions track reality, you can trust your general intuitions to tell you this is a hat or, whatever. I have a cup over here. So why couldn't they tell you morality? And he said it's going to be the same thing. I believe he said this, if you reduce it to sense impressions. But no, because sense impressions just tell you what is. You need judgments to tell you what's ethical. So the two are not the same. They're separate, but in his view, they're the same. And then we'd have to argue about that. So that's why. So Jim says that men score higher on math IQ, women on verbal for what it's worth. That could be why, Jim, that men do better on. I wonder if visual spatial reasoning, Jim. Jim, why don't you look that up? Who does better on IQ tests when it comes to visual spatial reasoning? Visual spatial reasoning. I'm sorry for that. So, what other questions? Please, folks, help me out here. Come with some questions, some ethical questions. Jim says men. Thank you, Jim. I'll relate it to my interlocutor. I don't know. We're not really disagreeing. He's just telling me about it. What are some questions that you have? I know that Ayn Rand once said, Jim, that playing chess, she was very much against it, but I've heard that she changed her mind before she died. That she was convinced that chess had value. Mr. Deagle says there's big differences between men and women. That's why that article from Charles II was interesting to me. I don't remember any objectivist writing on masculinity and femininity except Ayn Rand. What's his name that writes on the subject? Jason Stotz. Look up Jason Stotz. He talks about this stuff. I don't know if he considers himself an objectivist or if he's just inspired or influenced by objectivism, but check him out. I interviewed him a while back on sex. Whatever question you want, Akira, ask it here and I'll address it. It doesn't have to be on this topic. Feel free, folks, to ask me questions on any topic that you wish, and I'll be more than happy to answer. Of course, assuming, of course, I'm capable of answering it. If you ask me who has the best interpretation of quantum mechanics and why, I won't be able to answer that, but I don't think that would pop up on a show called Everyday Ethics. I don't know who Pisaturo is. Or Pisaturo, maybe not Pisaturo. I don't know who that is, Mr. Deagle, but maybe I'll check him out. Akira, what is the question, fella? He just remembered, Mr. Deagle says. So what else can we talk about? We've talked about moods, mostly my moods. Talked a little bit about chess. We talked a little bit about debates. Mr. Deagle said he had a very unfulfilling debate on the internet. Why is honesty equated with being a jerk? I don't know that it is, Akira. I think it can be sometimes equated with that when people ask questions that they don't want answers to. That's one area. If somebody asks you, hey, do I look fat? And you say a little, or yeah, actually, they get upset. Well, then don't ask. So that might be one reason. I don't think honest people equate honesty with being a jerk. If I ask you a question, how did I do in a debate, for instance, and you give me your honest opinion, I'm okay with that. I would want you to give me your honest opinion. I'm asking because I want to know. I'm not asking for fun or because I just want reinforcement for a positive view. But now there's also the question of honesty doesn't mean you have to be, somebody that suffers from verbal diarrhea, just going around and telling everybody what you think, unsolicited. That you go to, there's an unattractive woman and you go and tell her, hey, I just think you're unattractive. Are you being honest? Yeah, but you're also being a dick because that person that doesn't need your opinion or want your opinion. Well, frame it in a couple sequences, Akira. Like, I'll tell you something that I dislike. I like feedback on debates, on shows, when somebody gives me advice. One type of feedback I do not like, though, honestly, is when somebody tells me what I should have said. Like if you were to say to me, for instance, this mic is where I think Professor Humor got you right here in this spot where, he brought up evolution and you didn't respond. I would say, okay. But when someone tells me, he said this, this, and this, you should have said this. That I don't like. And there's a few reasons I don't like it. One, because it's easy when you're on the sidelines to tell somebody else what they should have said in the course of a debate where you are time constrained. So the debate that Humor and I had, we each got 10-minute openings, 3 5-minute replies, and then 7-minute closings. And as the burden of proof is on me, I have to respond to everything he says. I have to address each thing. I can't just leave things hanging to focus on everything. And then the idea, well, you should have said this. There's also a reason sometimes that somebody might not say something. Speaking of chess, you're playing chess and somebody says you should have done this. You should have done this instead of anything else. But I might be seeing something when I'm playing chess that person's not seeing. And I may know something in the course of the debate that person doesn't know. So to tell me you should have said this or I would have said that, I don't like that. Okay, Mr. Deagle says, few tweets in, I realized the guy was a racist. I kept debating him, but I don't know if I should have done it. Does continuing to debate sanction him too much? I'm not in the camp that is big on the sanctioning idea. Not that I don't think it's a real thing, right? I do think that sometimes you can be giving somebody too much of a platform. Like if I have a Nazi on my show, for instance, and I interview him as if he has a legitimate opinion, that's sanctioning. But to argue with somebody, to demonstrate, to make an argument against somebody's position, I don't see that as sanctioning them. And I don't see it as saying that person has a legitimate view, because sometimes you don't debate for that person. You do the debate for yourself and for those watching. So when you're talking about the question of sanctioning, the question that I would always tell you to return to, Mr. Deagle, is debating that person in your interest? Don't worry about, am I giving this person sanction and, are other folks going to think it's a sanction? Focus on you and whether it's in your best interest to answer. Arguing is usually a negative sanction. I like the wordplay, Jim, because the word sanction, of course, can either mean to approve or to punish. Akira says he can't do the question. Okay, Akira, that's fine. I do like the question of sanction because it has a lot of currency in the objectivist world. And people will often cite, Hank Rearden in the sanction of the victim. But I think it's important to understand that when in the Atlas Shrugged with the sanction of the victim, that Hank Rearden was sanctioning and allowing people to victimize him by acting as if they were moral. And it was done because he doubted his own morality, right? There was sort of I don't remember if she made it explicit, but this implied thing that he understood what the cultural value judgments were, even though his weren't. And he hadn't gained the level of moral certainty that was necessary until later on. Akira, type a little bit, hit play, type a little more. I mean, not hit play, hit go or whatever it is that you hit, send, type a little more, hit send. Can't you do that? So Hank Rearden wasn't sanctioning people by arguing with them and disagreeing with them. He was sanctioning them by acting as if they were okay, that what they were doing was legitimate and they were doing it to him. So it's a vastly different thing in my view than if you are debating with somebody or if you are expressing a contrary view to somebody. I also think it's problematic to think that anybody with whom you disagree is bad, is not good, is evil, that sort of thing. Because then it can become you're sanctioning everybody that disagrees with you. We also don't want to have everybody that disagrees with me is evading or a rationalist or, whatever other slogans are out there. Akira says he knows how to do it, but then Kira, why don't you do it? That's what I'm wondering. Just do it in segments. Type send, type send, type send. Christopher Smith's referring to the chain. Undoubtedly, that is the chain that Mr. Deagle. Undoubtedly, that's the part of the story where Hank Reardon gives his wife Lillian the bracelet made out of Reardon metal. So Mr. Deagle says the guy called him a communist Jew. So I'm pretty sure he's evil. Yeah, if somebody called me a communist Jew, I think I'd end the discussion there. I personally wouldn't continue it. The guy has resorted to insults now, not to actual philosophical disagreement of any sort. I personally would have left that. Levels, Jerry. Yeah. Jerry wanted to, or Kramer said he was going to build levels in his, Kramer wanted to build levels in his apartment. Akira Felix says he just bought The Passion of Ayn Rand yesterday. Is it any good? I enjoyed reading the book. I thought there was a lot of information in it. Obviously, it's a biased account from Barbara Brandon. It's her take on things. Jim Valiant, of course, excoriated it in The Passion of Ayn Rand's critics, and I thought Jim did a very good job of just picking apart many of the claims in there. What I found in The Passion of Ayn Rand to be the most interesting thing, or I don't know if most interesting, but it really surprised me. It's that Nathaniel Branden was writing Psychology of Self-Esteem while he was in the process of massive, massive evasion. I mean, massive. He was lying to Ayn Rand on a regular basis. He had a girlfriend. He didn't want to tell Ayn Rand about the girlfriend. He was pretending to go through sort of a therapy with Rand so that he could, get his mind together, knowing damn well what was causing the problems. So I would, I would read the book, but just understand it's a biased account from Barbara Brandon. There was a great anecdote in there that I'll never forget. It's that Barbara Brandon brought her, I believe it was her philosophy professor, to Ayn Rand. And they had a debate, and Rand destroyed him, basically, about, I believe the topic was socialism. And then she says, Barbara Brandon says that her teacher on the ride home said, "What am I supposed to do? This woman just destroyed everything I believe in. This is the stuff that I teach to my students. I don't know what to do." And Barbara Brandon says that the professor found his solution. He just avoided Ayn Rand from then on. And then there was another guy. It might have been Bennett Cerf. I'm not sure. But he said that he knew how to tell if somebody was lying. He said if somebody had a debate with Ayn Rand and the person claimed that the debate was even, he knew the person was a liar. But if the person said they won the debate, he knew the person was a damn liar. So I thought that was good. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Barbara Brandon, I thought, was a good writer. But again, it's a biased account. So take it for what it's worth. So we're running out of time here. Akira Felix still has not produced his questions here. Maybe he will at another time, or maybe tomorrow Persephone will have it and we'll get it. Tomorrow I anticipate Persephone being back, thank goodness, because she adds so much to the show. So much to the show. And the other shows too. Plus tomorrow we'll be doing crime, corrections, and culture, which we can't do today because I don't have Persephone to ask me the questions, and that's what the whole show is. So I hope you will be joining us. I hope you will join us for the Capitalist Corner tomorrow. I'm just about to conflict with the Yaron Brook stream. I wish Yaron would have debated me on the Iran war. I understand why he wouldn't. Is there any truth that Brandon has no much original contribution? Most of it is just Ayn Rand. I doubt it. I doubt that that's an accurate statement. I think that I think his stuff is, of course, inspired or impacted by Rand, but the guy was a PhD in psychology and, wrote extensively on self-esteem. I think the rudiments of his theory probably from Rand, but I think that he developed it far more than what she would have done. So that's my take on that. All right, folks, I'm out. Please check out my podcast in addition to this, The Rational Egoist. James has experience with Brandon, so may have an opinion on how much of Brandon's ideas were self-made. Yes, I did challenge Adam Mossoff, and no, he just continued to type on Twitter. So no, he wouldn't debate me. Maybe reach out to him, Akira. Reach out to Mossoff, see if he'll debate. I certainly would be happy to. All right, folks. Thank you very, very much. I don't know. Oh, in my opinion, I thought he was saying laughing. Okay. All right, Christopher Smith, Akira Felix, Robert Naser, everybody else, thank you so much for your comments, your questions. I will see you tomorrow. Until then, please be ethical.